Hey guys, today's lesson is we're doing 2 in 1. We're doing part of Lab 2A Powers of 10 and then Chapter 2, Lesson 2, Divide Decimals by Decimals. Okay, so first we're going to talk a little bit about what a power of 10 is, and we'll do some more examples in class tomorrow. So we are going to be practicing multiplying by powers of 10. And we're talking about powers of 10. I'm talking about 10, 100, or 1,000. Those are examples of powers of 10. And they're called powers of 10 because they can be obtained by raising 10 to a power. Okay, so we're going to do 3 different examples. We've been given a decimal, a power of 10, and a product. Okay, we know that based on the identity property, anytime you multiply a number times 1, it equals itself. So 28 6/10 times 1, we're not going to move our decimal anywhere because it equals itself. It's going to be 28 6/10. Okay? In my second example, I'm going to multiply 28 6/10 by 10. And we're going to move our decimal to the right because we're multiplying by a power of 10 that is greater than 1. Okay, that's our rule. And you move your decimal the same number of places as the number of zeros I have. So I have 1 0 in this power of 10, so that means I'm going to move my decimal 1 place to the right. So 28 6/10 becomes 286. Okay? In our third example, I have 28 6/10 and we're going to multiply by 1,000. Well, how many zeros do I have? I have 1, 2, 3. Is 1,000 greater than 1? Well, yes, it is. So I know I'm going to be moving it to the right 3 times. So I'm going to rewrite my 28 6/10 here just so we can see, and I need to move it to the right 1, 2, 3 times. So now my decimal has moved here. Well, what do I fill in these place values? We add zeros. So that becomes 28,600. Okay, now why do we need this? Well, because when we're dividing decimals by decimals, it makes our life a little easier. Okay, so our actual lesson is Chapter 2, Lesson 2, Divide Decimals by Decimals. Our objective is 6.3e. I can divide positive rational numbers fluently. Okay. In our example, we have 101 2/10 divided by 37/10. Okay. So we could set this up. I know that 101 2/10 divided by 30 7/10. And we know top dog gets the house. So I have 101 2/10 as my dividend and 30 7/10 as my divisor. Okay, and I do want you guys to actually label that. Dividend and divisor. Now when multiplying decimals by decimals, we do not like decimals in our divisor. So if I look at 30 7/10, I have a decimal here. We don't like that. We want to get rid of that decimal. And the way that we can get rid of that decimal is by multiplying by a power of 10. Well, I know in order to make this a whole number, I need to move my decimal 1 place to the right. So that means I'm going to multiply by a power of 10, the number 10, because it has 1 0, which means I'm moving my decimal 1 time. Well, what you do to one number, you have to do to the other. So if I multiplied my divisor by 10, I also have to multiply my dividend by 10. Okay, we keep them balanced. You have 1 0, 1 0, it's greater than 1, so we're moving 1 place to the right. And same thing in your dividend. Okay, so this becomes 307. And our dividend becomes 1,012. So now I have 1,012 divided by 307. Okay, and then it's just, did I get rid of my decimal? Yes, I did. We got rid of our decimal in our divisor, so now we can do our regular division. Okay, 307, that's a pretty big number. So what I did is I went ahead and I made my multiples for 307. I'm going to place it up here so you can see. So I had to write it out, give myself a little bit more space because they're big numbers. So pause the video, make sure you have your multiples. Okay, I know 307 cannot go into 1. Zero, we have 1 left over. Bring down your 0. 307 cannot go into 10. 307 times 0 is 0. I have 10 left over. Bring down the 1. 307 cannot go into 101. 0 times 307 is 0. Now I have 101 left over. Bring down the 2. Okay, 307 can go into 1,012. Let's look how many times. Okay, we can go as high as 3 times without going over. 3 times 307 is 921. If we subtract, $10,900. Okay, we have 91 left over. I need to add a 0, but before I can do that, I need to add my decimal. So I'm going to add my 0, bring down my 0. 307 can go into 910 2 times. 2 times 307 gives us 614. We have 296 left over. I'm going to bring down another 0. 307 can go into 2,960. Let's see here. We can go as high as 9 times without going over. 9 times 307 is 2,763. Okay, so we could keep going. It doesn't show a pattern, but we don't have time to keep dividing all day. So we're going to stop at the hundredths place. So 1,012 divided by 307 is about 3 29/100ths. Okay, and we can also write it 1,112 divided by 307 is about 329. Okay, so I know those are big numbers, but you're just doing regular division, just like we were doing regular multiplication in class. Now you're just doing regular division. The only thing that we have to make sure of is that we do not have a decimal in our divisor. Okay, make sure you bring your notes to class. I'll see you then.